I'm never going to exercise again. I'm going to eat and I'm going to drink and I'm going to have some fun.
Yeah.
That fun lasted 10 years. Next year, when you see me, I'm going to be in shape, and they didn't believe me. And I remember sitting in the Jersey Mike's, and I was just about to dig into this meatball sub, and I looked across the road and saw this CrossFit gym. Literally threw the sub in the trash can and walked across the road, introduced myself to the owner. I showed up the next day. Everyone in there's got their shirts off, and they're all ripped. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, this is embarrassing. I'm fat, I'm out of shape. Nearly 5 months into this 90-day challenge of like not drinking and not eating sugar. Pressure's on, match point, everyone's watching. Now I'm that guy with the shirt off.
Hey, Nick Malinosky here with the Exclusive Mindset Podcast. We are super excited today. We have a close friend of mine, David McNamara, who's with us. Incredible human being. Tennis pro, current tennis coach, athlete extraordinaire, amazing individual. I've known David now for many, many years. And part of me sort of starting this podcast was always have David in mind to sort of join us here and spread his journey and what he's doing today and what he's doing with his life and his fitness and giving back. And, you know, he's now coaching and he's now getting into corporate events and he's got a lot going on. So I'm super excited to have David McNamara and welcome.
Thank you, Nick.
Absolutely. So very exciting. So I really appreciate you joining us and, thanks for your time. And I know people are going to want to hear your story. We have a ton of mutual friends. I know you work down here in Florida for part of the year. And then you're in Martha's Vineyard for the remainder of the year. There's so many people that look up to you and are watching what you're doing. So I figured, what better way than to talk about your routine, figure out what you're doing, how you do it. I know through my journey, not just coaching me with tennis, but just the fitness and just the grind and, to keep going. And when work gets stressful, you got to keep going. So you've been there for me. I've been there for you. So I think it's a great fit. So welcome. And let's just get into the craziness of your life at the moment. So, being in this fitness, in this athletic world, what are you doing? Let's just dig right into it. What are you doing right now for your everyday routine? Walk us through that. What's going on with you right now?
My everyday routine, I started this January 1st. It started out as just a 30-day challenge. I had a friend of mine that is in the CrossFit industry, wrote a book, and it was a 90-day challenge. I had heard that, anybody can do anything for 30 days, but 90 days would be a better challenge. And so the challenge was to not drink alcohol, which is what probably most of the country tries to do in January, but it was also not to eat sugar or any processed or added sugar, and also just work out. And so I've been a CrossFit guy for, on and off for 10 years. And my routine has been this year, Monday to Friday, getting up at 3:15. The alarm goes off at 3:15 every morning. I make an espresso and I get ready. I leave my place around 3:45. I'm in the CrossFit gym at just around 4 o'clock, warm up. And then I've got a couple of buddies that I meet there and we get after it. We lift and then we do the class at 5 a.m. and usually done by 6, and then come home and off to the the club where I teach tennis at, and then it's teaching tennis all day. And for me, that's been my routine. And then weekends, depending on whether we're hosting events or not, it's the same. Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, I just got a message coming over here. We're going to meet at 8 a.m. So get to sleep in a little bit tomorrow.
Very nice. So you have actually a crew. You always hear about like the 6 a.m. crew, the 5 a.m. crew, and then there's the 3:45, 4 in the morning crew. So you have your crew essentially that is in CrossFit at that time.
Yeah, there are. There's a few of us that are in there, and I know the coaches in there get they've got the ring devices in there, and the alarm goes off on their phones. When we walk in the door, so they think they're probably a little crazy, but it's become a routine. I just absolutely look forward to getting up the next morning and getting after it. That's amazing.
And how often are you actually coaching tennis now? I know through my experience, you're booked pretty much all day. Every day you're actually coaching. So how many hours would you say you're
in season right now, it's pretty much, most days. We'll go, December to Easter, it's 6-7 days a week. We get a few days off here and there, but it's you're out there just working away, and putting the hours in.
Wow. So what are you, I know, I think a couple of years ago, I know you're doing the CrossFit, and obviously you're on the tennis court all day long. So you check those boxes. What else have you been doing over the last few years for your fitness, mental health goals? What are some of what were some of your goals the last, 3-4 years?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've been an athlete my whole life, and I've gone through different stages of my, peak fitness to being completely out of shape. And for me, the journey started 10 years ago. But just in the last few years, I'm 48, nearly 49. And about 10 years ago, my old boss had mentioned to me about playing some of these over 40 national tennis tournaments. Which is really big in the they call it the Masters Tour, and it's really big in the tennis world. And I didn't really think much of it. And then, I hadn't played competitive tennis since I stopped playing professional tennis back when I was 27 years old. And I thought, why not give it a go? And so I started playing these tournaments, having some success, winning some national championships. And then that turned into, winning some world championships. And it just grew into that. And then, the age groups of 40 to 45, 40 to 44, 45 to 49, 50 to 54. So every 5 years. I took a break there probably when I was 43 for a couple of years to do triathlon and Ironman. And then about 2 years ago, I hadn't played a competitive tennis tournament in a while, and I thought I would sign up for the over 45 National Clay Court Championships. And, I trained for it. I put the work in and I won it.
I was actually at that tournament, and it was pretty funny. So after I said, well, that was nice. So what division is this? And you were like, well, it's the nationals. It's the entire country. And I was a little, not surprised, but it was a pretty big, cause it's not like you were training forever for it. So it was like, you put in the work in that amount of time, and it was incredible that you won it. I mean, that's just awesome, and just shows your discipline over the years. So is it hard to keep the tennis game sort of in check for as far as a tennis player goes, from when you stopped playing professionally to sort of now? I mean, I know you're coaching every day, but there's got to be a difference between just coaching and actually training, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get that question asked a lot, particularly by the members. How do you switch from teaching us to then go out and playing these national tournaments? And I think it's just the body of work over the years of playing junior tennis, college tennis, professional tennis. I don't think you lose it. I think obviously being in shape, staying in shape is huge to that as well. And so, look, my routine is I put a month in of training every day leading up to an event, and that seems to get me ready. However, that did not get me ready this year.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
Yeah, this year was a tough one. I've played, so the National Clay Court Championships are here in Fort Lauderdale, and I won it 3 years ago. I lost in the final last year to the guy that I had beaten the year beforehand. And then this year, I'm the old guy in that age group. There's going to be some new young guys coming in, and I had the expectation to win it, and I lost in the quarterfinals. I lost a really tough match in the quarterfinals. I had opportunities to win the match, and I just got tight and got nervous, and I failed.
Okay, we're going to rapid fire question David McNamara. Let's go. David, what separates a great player from a good player in tennis?
Had a client 10 years ago who wasn't very good. He made an effort 3-4 days a week to play tennis. Every time he got asked, he would say yes, and he played tennis every single day. And 10 years later, he's turned himself into a very, very good, accomplished club player. Bit of a loaded question, but it's putting the work in every single day.
David, what's one lesson tennis has taught you that applies to life?
tennis is all about failing. You lose every single day. I won one professional tournament in my life. I've lost so many times, and it's realizing that failing is okay, but it's how you're going to rebound back from that failure.
What would you say the biggest mental mistake professional athletes make?
The mistake that I have made is going into something thinking that either I'm prepared or that I'm better than what I really am. And so respecting your opponent and going out there and just giving it 100%. And I think that's where failing is okay. If you know you've put the work in, then it's okay to fail. But if you haven't put the work in, you're probably going to fail. That's what separates the great from the okay.
David, obviously through coaching, you deal with all kinds of personalities, athletes. How do you coach someone and help them believe in themselves?
Great question. Tough question. Again, I'm okay with failing. So having the belief is easy for me, but for people who doubt themselves, it's a challenge. And I think it's putting people in pressure situations time and time again, watching them fail and then picking them back up and doing it again. And sometimes it's easier said than done. Some people, are terrified of playing tournaments, for example. You put them out there, they're probably going to lose. The next day on the practice court, it's nothing but positive reinforcement. They probably had a awful experience. And then it's the challenges to get them back out there and do it again.
What is a common denominator you see in your successful clients? Is there anything you can see there?
The clients that show up on time, they look the part, act the part. They treat me with respect. They treat everyone around them with respect. They're professional and they're willing to work hard. And they may not even be good at tennis, but they're willing to put the work in. I think that's a very common denominator with the successful clients that I work with.
I work with a lot of business professionals, and we see a lot of these really super successful people either sell or exit a company, and now they've got to start over. What happens once you win these tournaments? What's next?
There's no point winning if you're not going to win again. It's waking up the next day and doing it again. Whether you win or fail, it doesn't change. I want to win. And if I fail, I fail. And if I win, that's great. Now let's try and do it again.
So obviously being an athlete, there's injuries, there's ankles, there's legs, there's everything under the sun. What have you learned over the years how to sort of overcome an injury?
I've had plenty of injuries. I had plantar fasciitis, couldn't run for 18 months. I've had golfer's elbow. I've had that ongoing now for 4 years. I've had these niggling overuse injuries. I've done it all from dealing with chiropractors and physios and doctors and cortisone shots. And when you are injured, you need to rest. You need to listen to your body. You need to be smart. And I think that's really hard for successful people, is that we know one way and one way only, and it's going all out.
So how do you come back? Everybody in business, whether it's athletics or business or whatever you're in, how do you say, what am I doing? Why am I even doing this? I've got so much other stuff going on. What do you do? How do you come back from that? Not that you didn't do great, but you wanted to win it. You were there to win it. What do you tell yourself? How do you get back on the horse? Like I'm sure in your career, you have a wealth of knowledge of how to do this, being a tennis pro and being in, the world of athletics. What do you do personally to get back on the horse? Because we all have failures. I have, every other day something's failing. So do you have any tricks or things you've learned over the years to really get you back into it?
Yeah, great question. I think, for many people, failing is something that is hard. I have grown to love the process of doing everything I possibly can do, to give myself the best opportunity to win. And if you fail at it, you fail at it, and you just get back up and you do it again. And I think we learn our best lessons from failing. As horrible and as bad as it feels, and as sometimes as, it can affect your life, and whether it's relationships, whether it's work, family, I think failing is what life is really all about. And thankfully, I've failed many a times. And that's the one beautiful thing about tennis, is that tennis, it's one-on-one. So someone you lose all the time. And I think, from an early age, I just learnt about losing. And I just love the attitude of getting up the next day and putting yourself on the line again. And I think being in the industry, I know that's something that I love to challenge my clients with is just this attitude of going out there and it's okay to fail. And on the tennis, a college coach of mine said to me that how you act under pressure is a microcosm of who you are in life. And I think we can all relate to that. And I love watching all my clients under pressure, how they perform and how they act.
So, that's incredible. I mean, it's always, I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, in a lot of situations and circumstances, because it's so many people, a failure it hits hard for a lot of people. So it's amazing to be able to come back and sort of figure out how you're going to do it, I think is incredible. You mentioned something. So for me and you, we talk a lot, and just through playing tennis and everything else. About 4 years ago, I decided to make a lifestyle change. And, you just get to the point where, for me, I was entertaining clients every night. I was just going. I mean, I feel like I was just going hard for 20 years, always working out, running marathons and things, but never really dialed in. I think you mentioned like 10 years ago or something, you had some sort of moment where all of a sudden you were this pro, you're in shape, you're crushing it, and then something happens. Like all of a sudden you're not anymore. What was that like? And was there sort of a light that went off that said, hey, wait a minute, you need to get back in shape. You need to get back to basics. Like, what was that experience like? So what was that, 10 years ago or
Yeah. So like, look, basically at 26, 27 years old, I stopped playing professional tennis, and I basically was like, I'm never going to exercise again. I'm going to eat and I'm going to drink and I'm going to have some fun.
Yeah.
And that fun probably lasted 10 years. And I knew in the back of my mind that I needed to try and do something. And there were moments where I would, I'd run every day for a month, or, I'd try and exercise, but just nothing stuck. I struggled, and, I continued with my career, but it was just, I was living a pretty large life, working, socializing, and just, having fun. And it just, it was actually, I went back to Australia for my sister's wedding, and I came back to America, and I saw a photo of myself, and I was like, you are fat. I mean, that's not good. That's, I looked horrible. Big fat face. And that's where I put all my weight on. And I just right there and then decided I needed to do something about it. And also I was at my, we've talked about it before. I mean, I was at my rock bottom there as well. I'd lost a job. Everything in my life that was important in my life was pretty bad. And I just felt like I had to do something about it. And that was probably about, maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago. So I came back to America, went up north, was actually in New York at the time, told some clients of mine, next year when you see me, I'm going to be in shape. And they didn't believe me. I came back to Delray, and I remember sitting in the Jersey Mike's on Federal Highway near the Publix, and I was just about to dig into this meatball sub, and I looked across the road and saw this CrossFit gym, and I literally threw the sub in the trash can and walked across the road, introduced myself to the owner and said, hey, look, I need to change my life. And he said, look, let's just start out doing 3 days a week. So I showed up the next day to the first session, and I walked in there, and everyone in there's got their shirts off and they're all ripped. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what am I doing in here? This is embarrassing. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. And, but I stuck with it, and I just went every day for the next probably 10 days before I took my first sort of day off. I mean, I was exhausted. I couldn't even get through the warm up. I mean, it was miserable. And that basically led into 3 months of just working out every day. And then after 3 months, it led into, I'm working out pretty hard here. I might as well fix my nutrition up. So then I decided to, eat clean, did that for about 3 more months. So now after 6 months, I'm working out every day, I'm eating clean. And then I was like, let's try giving up the alcohol as well. And, within 9 months, here I am. I'm working out every day. I've cleaned my diet up, and I've cleaned my alcohol up. And, within a year, I go back to New York, and I'd made this drastic change. I'd lost I went from 225 to like 180 pounds. And that was the start. That was the start of the journey. And then since then, it's been pretty consistent. Obviously the drinking hasn't been, I haven't not drank in the last 10 years. I mean, I've gone through stages where, in my business, there is a big social aspect of it all, client dinners, dinner parties. And I love to have a drink. And that's probably been the thing that I've had to, over the years, it's either I'm on or I'm off. And then at the moment, I'm off it at the moment. So that's been the journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talk about that. That's a good point, because the alcohol comes up so much. And if you like a glass of wine and, of course you want to go out and have one and meet with friends, and it's great. I just think when it comes down to, things like alcohol and nutrition and everything else, I kind of look at it like it's a season, like what season are you in, or what stage are you in at the moment? I'm in a very similar one. It's like right now it's just work and grinding. I've got 2 little kids, like that obviously has, a lot to do with it, but that comes into play. So it's not whether you ever do or not. It's just whatever's working for you at the time. You're doing the diet, you're doing the working out, you're going for nationals. It's probably the best bet for you at the time. And I think everyone's different. It's every journey is different. You mentioned something about the rock bottom, which is, I think everyone, no matter what level, income, doesn't matter. Like everyone has some sort of rock bottom, whether it's, and it's all relative, it could mean anything. And I think sometimes it's good to get, to sort of a wake up call to say, hey, look, let's go. You need to readjust. You need to regroup. So I think it's, I guess it's probably a blessing that you did have that, because that was 10 years ago and you're going pretty strong. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think, as you alluded to, I think everybody has their rock bottom, and, and rock bottom means something different for everybody. And, I think you have to go through, again, it goes back to failures. You have to fail, and you truly appreciate when you succeed, whether it's health, fitness, business, relationships. When you have these successes, you appreciate them so much more when you've hit some failures or some rock bottoms.
Have you found it? I know I had to make major adjustments in my social life, which is, it could be looked at as a negative or a positive, however you want to look at it. But was it hard for you to say, I'm on this program, I'm getting up at 3:45 in the morning, just like, the rest of your boys do and the girls at CrossFit. Did you get any backlash, or is that a hard, did you have any negativity from it? Because, society and your routine and your friendships kind of require you out at night, but you can't really be going out at night if you're getting up at 3:45 in the morning. So is it was this commitment, did you face any sort of negativity, or was it hard, not just to do the workouts and to get on the diet, but was it also hard to sort of socially adjust?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a huge social adjustment. Just having to say no and, put your priorities in check. And, thankfully, at the moment, I mean, 6 years ago, I was training, I went down the whole triathlon Ironman route and having to, do these long bike sessions. And I mean, I remember on Martha's Vineyard getting up at 2:00 in the morning to get a 6-hour bike session in before I had to teach a women's clinic at 9 a.m. Now that's a little extreme for sure, but, having your priorities in check. And again, I would say that at times I'm on the extreme level, but having a routine, keeping my my goal out there, keeping my dreams out there, staying, keeping my priorities in check. I need those things in my life.
You mentioned routine, and it's something that I've always sort of struggled with. Even in my occupation, there is no, there's no check in, check out. There's no, that nobody's looking over your shoulder. You're running your own business. So, to me, I'm a major routine person. If I don't have a routine, everything falls apart. I have to have a routine. A a lot of your clientele also, they're financially very successful. They don't have to be anywhere at a certain time. They're on their own schedule. So when you're sort of helping your clients get, the diet, the nutrition, the discipline, how do you help them create a routine if they don't have one? I mean, obviously they're not going to be getting up at 3:45 in the morning, but what are the tips, for somebody who maybe the kids are just going off to college, or maybe their weight isn't where they want it to be? There's a million different reasons of why someone isn't exactly where they want to be. And they don't have to be a superstar athlete, but they just want to feel healthy, be healthy, and be doing the best they can. So, for that type of person, what tips or advice are you giving them? Obviously, it's not meet me at CrossFit at 3:45, but it's something. It's some sort of routine. What are you telling them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having these conversations daily with clients, and I think, watching them, or having them watch me go through my routine, asking questions to me, again, I'm certainly probably on that extreme level with my routine, but I think, you're setting little goals to start with. So, for example, if it's easy living in South Florida. What's the number one thing that it's so easy to, every day's cocktail. I mean, happy hour. Every day's happy hour, or every day. And someone's on vacation, and your home is a revolving hotel room to all your friends around the country. And it's very, very, very tough to say no. It is for me. But let's say you're a social drinker that drinks, 3, 4, 5 nights a week. Well, let's try and limit it to maybe a goal is to, I'm not going to drink Monday to Friday, but I'm going to have a drink on Saturday night. That'd be, that's a great challenge right there. I think just making small challenges to yourself is a great way to get into a bit of a healthy routine. Just like when I started my journey, it started out just working out, and then it led to, eating, and then it led to sort of drinking.
Mm-hmm. Out of your clients, do you, and this isn't just clients that you're helping, just maybe it's tennis, maybe it's whatever, clients or friends. Do you notice, can you sort of spot the client that's got it all dialed in, that you can tell is that sort of routine dialed in person? Are there many of them? Or, obviously many of our clients are extremely successful in their own right, whatever that means. But it's, as far as dialed in nutrition wise, gym wise, mentally, physically, what percentage can you tell sort of someone that's super dialed in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That I feel like I have when it comes to like someone's personality, I can usually tell that person's personality within like the first few minutes that they walk on the tennis court. Whether or not they're going to want to listen to instruction, whether or not they take that instruction and do something with it, which tells you a lot about what they're like in life. When it comes to their health and fitness, you can see a person's personality and how they, are they successful in their business? Are they successful in their relationships or in their life, in their day-to-day, in their day-to-day? It's hard to just look at somebody and obviously me be able to tell you that this person's successful or not. But look, I see people every day. I see the people that are in the gym every day. I see the people that are on that bike every day. I see the people that are on the treadmill every day. Like, I see that every single day. So, I see people putting the work in. And I think if you're putting the work in, then obviously you've got discipline. If you're showing up to your lesson every week, another one is are you showing up on time every week? You've got to, for example, okay? You have an 8 o'clock lesson on a Friday. You're there on time. You're there 5 minutes early. So right there in my head, I'm like, yeah, Nick's discipline, Nick's, showing me respect. The person that shows up 10 minutes late every single lesson, you know what? That probably relates a little bit to their life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. How many clients are sort of coming to you saying, not outside of tennis, like, okay, I need a workout plan, I need a diet, I need something. I mean, obviously everybody looks to you sort of as the leader within that fitness world. So are you getting constantly, people coming to you saying, help me out, what do I do? Guide me.
Yeah, I mean, haven't been very active on social media. I mean, obviously I've posted some stuff about my tennis results, my triathlon and Ironman stuff and a lot about my daughter. And what I noticed was through my successes and failures, I've been getting a lot of really positive feedback from, friends and clients. And what it started to realize for me was that, I do have a message for people and I do have something to share. And, for example, this morning I went to CrossFit, worked out, a friend took a picture. I looked at it and I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty ripped in this picture. And he posted it and, literally had 100 messages from people within an hour. I had 5 phone calls from people going, man, what are you doing? What is it that what are you eating? What are you drinking? Like, what's your routine? And so, yeah, I mean, look, I was saying to somebody, like, I think you got to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And in the tennis industry, I would say that there's a huge population of tennis professionals and directors of tennis that are not in shape. And here we are, we're trying to have a positive influence on someone's life, and yet, you're not doing it yourself. And so, and which leads into, like, I've got a daughter who's a freshman at University of Tennessee, and she's watched my journey the last 10 years. And she was there for, in Chattanooga when I did the half Ironman. She's watched me sit on a trainer for 5 hours and do a bike session. She's watched my tennis tournaments. She's gone through all the successes and failures with me. And, for me to lead by example to her, I don't think there's anything better than that.
Yeah. What do you see as far as your next journey or continued journey? CrossFit, I think there was some High Rocks things you were talking about, going back to the national tennis. What's on the agenda right now? What are you thinking right now for the next 12 months?
Right now, so I'm in I'm nearly 5 months into this 90-day challenge of, like, not drinking and not eating sugar. And I feel absolutely incredible and amazing, and starting to get some clarity on my next venture. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not going to drink. At the moment, I don't know when that's going to be. Right now, I'm loving my life. I'm in a great routine. I feel great. As far as physical challenges or tennis tournaments, so I turned 49 in June. I turned 50 next year. So when you turn 50 in that year, you can start playing over 50s tennis tournaments. So I'm going to put it out there right now that my goal for next year is to play. So they have 4 national championships in tennis. Mm-hmm. They have a clay court championship, they have a grass court, they have a hard court, and they have an indoor championship. And in tennis, it's all about winning a gold ball. So when you win one of these tournaments, you get given an award, and inside that award is a gold ball. And so that's what we're trying to win. My goal next year is to try and win all 4 of them. And I am also planning on playing the World Championships as well. And so I won I think it was 2018, I won the World Championships in doubles. and I lost in the semifinals of singles. And I want to go back and play the over 50 World Championships and see what I can do next year. So that's the goal for next year. I'm about to finish up my job here in Florida tomorrow, and I've got a little bit of a break, and then I head to Martha's Vineyard. I don't have any athletic plans immediately, but I'm just loving the journey that I'm on right now.
That's amazing. Just quickly, so you're coaching tennis basically every day. You've got a tennis ball and a racket in your hand every day. What do you have to do differently? How do you prepare for these tournaments rather than just, practicing your serves and hits and everything else? Like, what are you going to do to win this tournament?
So I think I mentioned earlier that I usually prepare for about a month to get ready for a tournament. So these tournaments are spread out next year. So there's 5 tournaments. So that means there's 5 months of training before, a month before each tournament, which, and this is how I'm wired, unfortunately. It's like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to go all in. So, it's teaching tennis lessons in the morning. It's on the lunch breaks. It's making sure that I get an hour of training in. And for me, what training is that, thankfully I've had a couple of mentors of mine, ex-director of tennis, professionals that have been in the elite club world and they're both retired, Roger Ashcroft and Stefan Laporte. And I get these guys out to feed me balls, and they literally run me side to side to side. They try and make me throw up, and I do that as much as I can, and I just get the repetitions in. And then I hit up friends. I hit up a couple of clients that are good players themselves, and I play practice matches with them, and that's how I get ready. And then I hope that when I go to these tournaments, I get a couple of matches early on that I can sort of get some confidence and sneak through them.
You hope.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We hope it works out.
We hope it works out.
So that's incredible. I mean, that sounds like a major year.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge year. Really looking forward to it. It's a little, me just saying to you now, I haven't actually vocally said that I'm going to train, it's 5 tournaments, 5 months of training. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun right there, but that's all I know. So that's going to be the goal next year. And as long as I stay healthy, then that's the plan.
So you're on it right now. You're crushing it. You're in the zone. What you just told me, you got 5 months of training next year. That's going to keep you going basically through the summer into next year. You had your moment. I've had mine. What do you tell people that are, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a mother, a father, somebody just trying to figure it out, you don't quite have it there. What message can you leave them with, from your discipline and your journey and your failures and success? How do we get them out of the rut? How do we get them moving? What is your message to them right now?
I see these people every day, and it's even in the CrossFit gym, a new member walks in who's trying to lose weight, who's completely out of shape. They're completely intimidated because now I'm that guy with the shirt off, and they're afraid, and they know that they don't know. What's the saying? You don't know until, you don't know until you don't know. And so, and to all my members that are, clients that are also going through that journey, it's just trying to break these little habits. It's saying no to to the cocktail party. It's drinking soda water at the cocktail party. It's whether it's eating food, changing up your diet a little bit, just doing some really small little things. I also think, getting some positive reinforcement from some people. So, that's another big part of my job. I know there's one particular client of mine, she's 70 years old and she lost 50 pounds in 1 year. And it was amazing. I hadn't seen her for the summer season. I came back and it was just incredible to watch. And, for her, it was rather than having 2 glasses of wine every night, it was having 1 glass of wine 3 days a week. It was portion control, and it was walking every day. And then it turned into running her first 5K at the Delray Beach Turkey Trot, which she tried the year beforehand. She walked it the first time, then she actually ran it the second time. So all these small challenges. And then I think when you see results, I know for me, when you have people comment on, on me, it may be a bit of, we talk about vanity training, but there's a little bit of truth to that. It's nice to be commented on, told that you look good, told that you're working hard, and I think that's important for other people to hear that as well.
Yeah. And surrounding yourself with the right people.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've even found it with ourselves it's, if you're going out with a bunch of clients that are all getting after it early in the morning, the night looks different than if you're going out with, clients that don't or friends that don't. It's just different.
Yeah.
Different mindset, different goals, which is fine. They're both fine. And I love going out like the rest of them. And it's amazing and it's fun, but it just comes down to your goals at that time. What are you focused on now? What is your goal now? So, we're very similar in that case.
Absolutely. Even last year when you and I decided that we were going to run 3 days a week.
It's amazing.
And we did that for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We ran a 5K. You ran a personal best, I believe.
By far, yeah.
And that was awesome.
Yeah. What was your personal best 5K?
My personal best 5K was a few years ago, and I believe it was an 1836.
Yeah.
Which I think is a 5:52 pace, I think.
For not being a runner.
Guy, for not being a runner.
For being a tennis player, not bad, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. I know your passion is helping people. Otherwise you wouldn't be a tennis coach. I've seen you do it with my kids, my family. I've watched you go to less fortunate kids that don't have everything lined up, and you've helped them line it up. You've done things that I know about that most people don't. So, what you're doing, you don't get credit for it all the time, obviously, because you'd be doing it either way. But you're crushing it, and you're helping a lot of people. I think you help a lot more people than you actually give yourself credit for.
I appreciate you saying that, Nick. I think we're all in businesses where we don't get a lot of credit, and obviously being in a sport as a coach, we deal with people all day, every day, and up on Martha's Vineyard, I've been there 10 years, and I'm the director of tennis up there and pickleball and fitness. And we've built something really, really special up there. I have developed this boot camp that started out 3 days a week where the members would come, and basically it was me running it just with my CrossFit background. And, we were getting 20, 30 people showing up 3 days a week, where now it's happening, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock every day, Monday to Saturday. And I actually have a professional that comes in and run these classes. And whether it's tennis, whether it's fitness, whether it's pickleball, just getting people moving is huge. And again, leading by example is huge. And then, you mentioned, I have a great program that I run on Martha's Vineyard as well, which is basically it's a free tennis program to the local community, which we are doing a joint venture with the city of Vineyard Haven on some local courts. And we offer morning and afternoon clinics for adults and children. which is completely free to those island residents, which is really, really special as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. Well, you said, you set yourself with a big goal for 2025, I think you said, right? Is that what you did?
I have set a goal,
Yeah.
and I'm.
You sure you want to say that? You want the pressure?
You know what? All my clients know when there's a big point. I love saying pressure's on, match point, everyone's watching. Well, I'm putting it out there that the goal is, I have no problem in putting it out there that the goal is that I want to win, 4 national championships next year. And I know for sure that I will do everything I can to make sure I'm ready, and I'll go in there 100% and give it my best. And hopefully I can let the racket do the talking. That
is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. You're the man. Keep grinding, keep helping people. I can't wait to see your journey, and you're going away for the summer, but I'll see you next season.
Nick, I really appreciate you, mate, and have a great summer.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. If you like this podcast, please join for more. Thanks.